thing. Okay, the conclusion, the final paragraph on page 43. I quote, "Grace, of course, means you're favored by God. No questions asked. A blessing that you can neither earn nor deserve. To fundamentalists, it's worth more than freedom, and they're willing to sacrifice their freedom and yours for that glorious feeling." End quote. Okay, Mr. Sharlet, you are using a definition of grace that is absolutely foreign to anything that I know or anything that I've ever heard of before. First of all, yes, grace is worth more than freedom. The Declaration of Independence clearly states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty or freedom, and the pursuit of happiness." That's the Declaration of Independence. That is Thomas Jefferson and the framers. Okay? Unless you believe that rights and freedom come from the state and not from God, then yes, grace comes before freedom. Grace, coming from the Creator, gives man the inalienable right to liberty. So the grace comes from God, and the result is the freedom. So you have it inside out, Mr. Sharlet, not these young warriors whose words you have so gratuitously twisted in your so-called article. Secondly, he reduces grace, which is the unmerited gift of God to give men the virtue to do good. He reduces grace to what he calls a feeling. So these young warriors in uniform are willing to give up your freedom for a feeling. If you are not insulted by that, whether you are religious or not, then I think you need to more closely scrutinize just what it is that Mr. Sharlet is asserting here. Finally, his conclusion, which I wish he would have stated up front while we were still recovering from Jesus Killed Mohammed, his title. His conclusion is this: they're spiritual warriors themselves, men and women persuaded that the only God worth believing in is one who demands that they break in spirit and in fact the oath to the Constitution they swear to uphold on their lives. This is outrageous. So those who are in uniform, in harm's way, whether they're training or whether they're serving or whether they're fighting or whether they're recovering from fighting or whether they have been wounded or killed in action, those who do so, animated by their faith in God, are somehow serving a God who demands that we break our oath to the Constitution. This only makes sense if you follow Mr. Sharlet's spurious and very contemporary, not rooted in historical political theory, his very contemporary interpretation of the First Amendment, which states clearly, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof." There is no abridgment of the Constitution by serving in uniform with faith in God, or faith, fundamentalist faith, as Mr. Sharlet is so fond of using that term. So he says that those in uniform who serve who serve God and believe that God is leading their lives and God is inspiring their actions, that their faith is a charter for their service, that somehow that our God is demanding that we break our fealty to the Constitution that we are sworn to uphold. All you have to do is look at his sensationalistic title, "Jesus Killed Mohammed, the Christian Crusade to Convert the U.S. Military," and you know where this guy's coming from. He's just trying to commit news. You know, this is if he really wanted to, draw attention to his cause, I guess this is the way he chose to do it. But Jesus killed Mohammed. Then a story inside has nothing to do with that, and gratuitous misquoting of American servicemen and women. So that's all I have to say about it. I'm answering my friend who asked me to comment on this article. If you differ in your interpretation in mine, that's great. That's why we have this liberty, and we can dissent, and we can argue, and we can take different sides, and we can cast our ballots on election day. What we do not have the right to do is change the meaning of our Constitution and the intent of the framers, which for some of us, there's nothing to argue about. It's very clear. Our framers believe that rights came from our Creator, and without faith, without religion, without a belief and an adherence to God and to His will as it is interpreted in many different ways, our particular experiment as a state is going to perish. So our rights do come from God, and our servicemen and women that do serve under the inspiration of religious faith are to be commended, not to be condemned.